From the shores of Malibu, where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China, and back to the streets of St. Louis, where the UFC is coming. We are live. This is Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about, but may be afraid to voice. Do not worry, we will voice it for you. It's No Holds Barred Radio, folks. UFC, film, TV, entertainment, sex, drugs, rock and roll, baby. So we're going to talk about it now. I'm here with my co-host, TJ DeSantis. TJ, week gone by, you've been on the road. I've been on the road. We'll talk about it on the show. I'm a little jet lagged, but I got to get on the road again. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I was actually just chatting with our guests a little bit. You say it's time radio, and man, I don't even know what radio is or isn't anymore. Like, you can literally, I mean, I guess what people are doing right now potentially is they're watching radio.
You
know what I mean? What is this? Is this radio, TV? What is it?
To me, it's like this. It's like there's tissue, there's Kleenex, right?
Right.
There's Xerox, there's copiers.
Yeah.
Every copier is called a Xerox. Every tissue is called a Kleenex. All podcasts are going to be considered radio. It's just kind of like been established.
Right. But like, again, there's the visual element. I feel like we've, blurred the lines even more so, and now we're on TV.
Whatever works, as long as they're watching. That's all that counts.
This is exactly what Chase Hooper wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Chase Hooper, let's talk about the fact we have somebody very special on the show, somebody I'm enamored of. I love watching your work, Chase. Stepping in at a young age into that octagon. You're one of these guys, and I'm very impressed by your fighting. First off, thanks for coming on the show, Chase.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Fight week, by the way.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, it's fight week, and that's the thing. Here's fight week. You're coming on. You're in a weight cut situation right now. We're taping this on Thursday. You're fighting on Saturday. Next 24 hours. Chase, just how grueling is it?
I think, honestly, I obviously hate the water cut, but it really makes you appreciate the little things, like being able to drink water, for instance, or eat whatever you want, that type of thing. It's a hell of a mental process, like, especially when you're in the sauna and you're thinking, like, I want to get out, and you're like, okay, I got 20 minutes left. And you want to get out. Those 20 minutes, they feel like 2 hours. It's just you're constantly looking at the clock, and then the moment of like, okay, like hopefully I lost a good bit of weight in that time, so I don't have to keep going back in there. A little bit of nervousness as you check the scale. It's like a weird. I blame the wrestlers first off. It's all their fault. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be cutting weight like this. But it's part of the business, and in my opinion, it's really the part of the business that earns you that first check. So it's, the most basic side of the professionalism of the sport is just making the weight that you agree to on the contract, which sucks cutting the water weight, but has to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, people think about weight cuts, and we all think it's torturous. Those of us that don't go through it. At the same time, you're fighting at 155. So right now, 24 hours before the fight, what do you weigh?
24 hours before the fight, I'll be 155. Right now, I'm probably 165. So I got about 10 pounds to go.
So you got, okay, now that's when you think about it, it's a hellacious amount of weight for a 160-pounder to lose 10 pounds. I used to watch Tito Ortiz lose 18 to 22 pounds in 24 hours, but he's fighting at 205. You're fighting at 155. You're going to walk in. You're going to weigh in at 155. You weigh 160 now. You said 160 or 165?
165.
Okay.
I wish I was 160 right now.
All right. So then with that being said, now 24 hours later, you're going to walk in the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to weigh, you think, when you walk in the octagon?
Honestly, probably between 175 180. It's pretty common.
That much weight you'll put back on. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a huge bit of that is thanks to the Performance Institute that the UFC has, like all their dietitians, the weight cut staff. It just essentially like they empty like your guts, like your intestines and all that are as empty as they can be. The water load, you've been flushing out all the salt, so you're holding like not very much water. And then once you start adding the salt, once you start adding the food back in, like your muscles plump back up. Yeah, that fluid does a lot for sure.
That's interesting because obviously we talk about the weight cut, and there's concerns about the weight cut for a fight being, not healthy to fighters. But when you talk about flushing your system out, it kind of made me think, Chase, for maybe the first time ever about a weight cut, that there might be some potential health benefits doing the water loading and just trying to get everything out. Like, I assume you're getting out some, excess waste in your intestines and things like that. Like,
I mean,
don't get me
yeah,
wrong. I'm not trying to say a weight cut's healthy, but you might be better for it in some ways.
I just realized that I've done a weight cut.
Yeah, in
When
California,
I had a colonoscopy.
That's it.
You had to take that liquid, that barium fluid,
Yeah.
I remember it on a Sunday. I timed it so it was NFL football Sunday because you just can't leave the house.
Right.
So, all joke aside, it's kind of similar, but I'm still blown away that you can weigh 20 to 25 pounds heavier. So, when you think about that, a lot of that is water. But at the same time, what is your first meal?
Honestly,
And then how do you graduate your meal from that point forward?
Yeah, so the PI staff they bring you like the food, especially like because it's very important the first hour or two. Like,
Pardon me, Chase. I don't mean to make you jealous. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
What a dick.
I've had worse, but no, they say it's very important. Like the first hour, like they'll only let you drink water like in a certain amount. Like they won't let you just go to chugging all your water right away and like drink a gallon in like 30 minutes. Like you gotta do like essentially a water bottle's worth of liquid in like the first 20 minutes.
Your body will reject it too if you start chugging, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to kind of meter it out, just because you're in such a delicate state right there. And then the first thing that they'll give you, a lot of times it was like a bagel with like jelly. So you get some like starches, and then you get some like sugar. So you get the quick carbs and the slow carbs, just to start reintroducing you to like food, because you haven't had it in a day or two, get your guts working again, or like rice pudding. They've had that before. But yeah, I just trust the people that are smarter than me to tell me what to do to not mess my body up.
I'm glad you have that kind of backing. I mean, I see a lot of fighters, they'll start choking down the bananas and the oranges and all that kind of stuff. So now you go through that graduation process. You're weighing in the morning on a Friday. You got the ceremonial weigh-ins usually at 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon. So by nighttime, you can sit down, have a nice, if you choose to, steak dinner, pasta dinner, whatever you choose.
Yeah, they always tell us to go really carb heavy, just because that's what's going to help you, perform the best the day of. I always like Mexican food, pizza.
Did you say Mexican food?
Yeah, I like tacos and stuff.
Well, now, I'm not trying to make a joke, but I got to ask this question. Okay? There is the elimination process, right? Mexican food obviously hastens that very quickly at times. But when you time it, okay, you're starting to eat, you're fighting on the card. Let's see here. You're the last prelim fight before the main card. We start at 3. That means you're going to fight approximately at 7 o'clock. So do your people time it? And I don't mean to be crude or anything. This is a very serious question. Do you seem to time it so that if you're going to eliminate, you're not walking in the octagon full with an intestine full of?
I knew you were going here.
Yeah,
no, it's an interesting question when you think about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll go pretty hard as far as the food goes. Like, I just feel ravenous really after the weight cut. So the day of weigh-ins, like, I'm usually going pretty hard, and I definitely will be tomorrow. Like, eating a lot for sure. And then the morning of, I've been kind of cutting it back down myself, doing like eggs and rice or something for breakfast. Like I felt like I was rewarding myself the previous day for the weight cut. That's when I'll have the candy. That's when I'll have the sweets, that type of stuff. And then, in the morning before the fight, I'll have, 1 cup of coffee, and then I'll have, some carbs and then some protein. Like, I definitely start metering it back a little on the day of the fight. Because I've had times where, I've been eating up until the fight, and, my stomach, like, hurts. Like, your organs hurt from, like, just trying to process all that food.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least it was a learning curve for sure, but I've definitely started to tailor it back on the day of the fight.
Like
But I've been
shakes and
fighting.
honey, stuff like that.
Yeah, honey for sure. I try to stay away from like more the refined sugar on the day of. I
Yeah.
think it just gives me too much like nervous energy
Mm.
because all that's got to go somewhere. Same thing with the caffeine. That's why I stick to like 1 cup of coffee.
You guys talk about the exit process. I remember Joe Lozon told me a story about getting his hands wrapped, and then immediately after getting his hands wrapped, he had to go sit down and go to the bathroom. And he said, "You've never gambled like you're gambling when you have to go number 2 with wrapped hands, because you got to wipe. You got to make sure you don't get anything on it. You know."
Listen, in all the fights I've announced, I've seen elimination inside the cage. You know.
Oh, of course. I mean, I remember the people that did it, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get off this shitty conversation and we'll talk about something else. So, Chase, where's the Goldilocks, baby? Where's the Samson hair? You're high and tight today.
Yeah, just trimming it up a little bit.
Looks good.
Honestly, I felt like it was a bit of like a strategic thing. You know, I think the fro, like when you get hit, it moves so much more. So I think it looks worse, honestly. Where this is a little cleaned up, and then the issue too is with my hair, like when it gets wet and it's too long, it curls right into my eyeball. So I'd rather not have that, in the middle of the fight. I've had like earlier in the camp before I got my hair cut, I kept having to wipe it out of the way during sparring and stuff, and it's like, okay, I definitely don't want that in the fight. So we got to trim it up and look a little more professional, I guess, for the judges and all that. So it doesn't look as bad when you're getting hit, and it's not getting my eyes. So
Before Buffer makes his obligatory TJ's bald joke, let me tell you another story that I've always really thought about. Like when Clay Guida is in a close decision, I've always wondered if his hair was a factor against him, because even if you avoid a punch, like when you move your head and you got that much hair going on, judges can't really tell what rocks you or what glances when you're basically looking like an 80s rock metal video. It can definitely be a factor.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of little stuff. Like you can see I didn't do it as well this camp, but Wonder Boy was telling me that he always goes like tanning before fights. Just because the pale skin, like when you get hit, that
makes sense. Yeah,
turns red a lot quicker. Versus when you tan up a little bit, it's not going to be as visible.
Interesting. God, in all my years, I'd never even heard or thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just little stuff like that. I mean, we're probably overthinking it a lot.
Not with judges, man. Not with judges.
For sure. But I think people would rather err on the side of caution then, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. You're from the mean streets of Enumclaw, Washington. I had to say it. What got you into MMA? I would think Enumclaw, and I've been throughout the state of Washington. I love the people up there. They're so down to earth. But coming from a small town and all that, was it watching UFC on TV? Was it watching Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee movies? I mean, what got you into mixed martial arts? What got you into martial arts? What caused this furor at such a young age to come into this sport?
Honestly, I was so lucky with the circumstances. Like my coach, right around the time I was around 8 years old, he'd moved up here from California. He was like a Ralph Gracie guy. He'd been training up there. And then he moved up here, opened his own gym in Enumclaw, like right down the road from us. And my dad ended up like working with him while he was still, transitioning from working a regular job to opening the gym. And then he was just like, hey, bring your kids in, as you would. And I didn't really know what to expect. Started off with jiu-jitsu, obviously, and never stopped. I just, I don't know, that was really my, just my one thing. I never really played any other sports. I just that was my thing, and I stuck with it. And I just kind of grew up in the culture of, having other guys that were fighters there. My coach made it to the UFC when I was young, so I got to watch his fights. And then, just growing up in the culture of the fighters, it's like, you go from the jiu-jitsu tournaments to, you do a kickboxing smoker, which is essentially just sparring at another gym with somebody you don't know. And then you go to an amateur MMA fight and then, win from there. Just really one step at a time. That's how I view my whole career, honestly, is I just keep taking it fight by fight, really. And I kind of out of necessity too. Like once I turned 18, I was on my own, had to pay the bills, and I thankfully was able to do it just with fighting locally. I was staying busy. I was fighting pretty much every month. But yeah, necessity will definitely get you where you want to be.
Yeah, well, that's why they call it mixed martial arts. It's constant training, it's constant learning, it's constant every day waking up and doing this whole number. And you're fighting Vyacheslav Borshev, here on Saturday night. He is a kickboxer, right? Which I know you're adept at striking. You've shown that you're a full-rounded fighter. Obviously, still growing, still improving and becoming better and better, as every fighter has to. As I said before, as each day goes on. So now, is your immediate thought with a kickboxer is to draw him in and let him be offensive and defensively get him down on the ground? Is that your thought? Or do you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I've been saying, like, this is really one of the matchups that UFC is built on. Like these stylistic matchups of, a very well-versed striker and a very well-versed grappler. And it's, at the end of the day, it's about me, trying to take the fight to where it would be the easiest for me to win. There's no point in me fighting him where he's best. So yeah, it's about striking a little bit, obviously. Like, I can't just go in there and try to take him down immediately. It's you kind of got to play the mind games a little. I can't just give him what he's looking for immediately.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's definitely trying to get to the ground, trying to drag him into the deeper waters, get him into the places that he's uncomfortable, where I am comfortable. So that's definitely what I'm looking for on Saturday night.
You mentioned Wonder Boy, Chase, who I think is, a throwback fighter in a lot of ways when you talk about, specialists and he don't get me wrong. I think everybody in the UFC at this point is a mixed martial artist. They have to be. But there is something special about sort of throwback fighters that are so rooted in their base discipline. And it's even more impressive when it works and you don't have to get outside your game. Would you consider yourself one of those sort of throwback specialist fighters?
I mean, I would say so for the most part. I would say I'm definitely about 80% a jiu-jitsu guy, and then 10 wrestling, 10 on the striking. At least as far as how I feel. I'm obviously like growing in the striking, growing in the grappling, or growing in the wrestling side of things. But jiu-jitsu's been with me since day one, and that's how I got where I am right now. Like, that's jiu-jitsu's what helped me pay for my house. But having to do jiu-jitsu against guys that don't want to do jiu-jitsu. So it's
right.
Having to do it at the highest level with the highest stakes. But yeah, no, jiu-jitsu's been there for me for day one, and I'm definitely not turning my back on it. It's keeping in mind what got you to where you are and just improving on that.
There's one saying in life, Chase: don't ever forget where you came from. Okay. Don't ever forget where you came from.
Well, also, too, don't forget where you came from when I think that it's a big factor in, potential, money-making opportunities moving forward. You had a grappling match with the former UFC champion Aljamain Sterling. Renato Moicano is another guy you've tangled with, in straight jiu-jitsu. He's going to be part of the UFC Fight Pass Invitational coming up next week. Do you see yourself pursuing more grappling matches between your UFC fights in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the Aljo one specifically, they're like, I just got hit up. They were like, hey, you want to do a grappling match against Aljamain in Abu Dhabi? And I was like, yep, I'll do whatever it takes to, be able to grapple against.
Is that the ADCC?
No, it's a different promotion, but I mean, there's a lot of promotions, guys. Like there's real money to be made now in just straight grappling events.
The way I look at that, with the exception of striking grappling, which I love too, is that to me, even though you're being paid and you're competing, it's still training for you. You're basically training for the UFC. So why not grab a payday in between?
Yeah, definitely. And then in the case of getting to go to Abu Dhabi, that's a bonus. Getting to travel around the world and see these places, and it keeps me in a competitive mindset too.
Well, so. he was already there, but first thing I want to say here, and I hope Aljo's not watching or listening, because I like Aljo and I don't want him to be upset. But I thought you won that match, Chase.
Me too. So I watched, who was it? Diego Lima went against Renat
Mm.
Fakhretdinov, the Russian
Yep.
cat. They were earlier than us on the card, and I was watching that match. Essentially, in the rules, they told us we're scoring it based on submission attempts, like the person trying to finish the match. And then I saw Renat was just wrestling the whole time, and Diego was trying to hit subs, and then they gave it to Renat because he's one of their boys. He came up in the UAE Warriors, so he's from, he's a pretty familiar face out there. So I was like, I think they're probably gonna maybe skew it in a way where they might have their guys win. But it was good experience against, again, a world class grappler. I was definitely impressed with how just how strong Aljo was, even for being like 165 pounds. A little smaller than me, but definitely way stronger.
No,
Do me
he's a strong individual. There's no question.
do us a quick favor. We got Moicano coming up. He takes on Christian Guzman next week on the FPI. Give me a scouting report and your experience grappling Moicano, because obviously he's a good MMA grappler. We've seen that, but things change a lot when it's just straight jiu-jitsu. Were you impressed with Moicano's jiu-jitsu skills on the mat?
I think honestly, Moicano, when I grappled with him, it was very similar to kind of how the Aljo match went. Sorry, he was very kind of more wrestling based, I would say, like very heavy, holding a lot of positions, which is very beneficial in MMA. I think more that wrestler based style of grappling seems to be what the MMA guys are trending towards, especially from the bigger gyms. Especially like that rule set too, where it was kind of more like just judges being like, okay, did you win? Did you not? So I think he'll have great top control. I thought his takedowns were really solid. I think a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are going to have trouble with an MMA guy that also has great jiu-jitsu, like Moicano, because of that top control. Like, he's never really giving up position. And he's ready to just jump on whatever you give him. So, I think he's going to be a tough matchup for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. So now, sleep-wise, you're going through the weight cut. You got everything happening today. For me, the night before a show, I try to get 10 hours sleep. Now, I'm just announcing, okay? You're going in there putting your blood, sweat, and tears in your life on the line. Do you have a hard time sleeping? Do you have a smooth time sleeping? Or how does that work for you?
Honestly, tonight will really be the test on if I get to sleep or not. Just the night before weigh-ins, not even necessarily the stress of it, just is kind of is weird to say, but it's like when you suck out all the water, you're literally like laying on your bones,
right?
Like on the mattress, on the floor, whatever. You can't get comfortable. Just you're so dehydrated. You just are rolling around for 6-8 hours in the bed, just looking at the clock constantly, waiting for it to get close to 9 so you can weigh in and get done. That's generally where I have trouble sleeping if I make weight the night of, and then I get to drink a little in the morning, which I'm debating if I'm going to do that or not this time. But usually the night of the fight or the night before, I don't have too much of an issue, partially because I barely slept the night before. But I'll usually get probably 8 hours in. I wake up a little earlier. I like in the morning of the fight, like I'll go kind of just walk around with my wife, get a coffee, just kind of, mellow out a little bit.
How long have you been married, Chase?
August will be 3 years, I think.
Wow, very cool. You have any kids?
We actually have one on the way here, June 17th. So.
Oh wow, coming up
well,
quick,
if you remember,
man.
contact TJ when your child's born. If you want, I'll do a video commemorating his birth for you, his or her birth.
Sounds good. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be my gift to you. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, talk about not getting a lot of sleep. I mean, sleep's going to be a prized possession for you coming up real
we just
soon.
told him, like, hey, I cannot fight in June. It has to be before.
That's smart.
And then, fight, get some time to relax, get some time to adjust to the baby. And, hopefully get some sleep in before I take another fight. So
yeah.
Do you normally have your wife come to your fights, or is that sporadic? How does that work?
she's actually, she's come to, I think pretty much all of them. I don't know that there has been one of my UFC fights that she's not been here for.
She doesn't have a problem watching?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right, I was just going to say, she doesn't have a problem watching? She doesn't get too nervous?
Well, during all the COVID, like all the Apex shows, it's more on the phone. Because they don't give us the tickets for that. But this will be kind of a test to her for that, especially being pregnant, having to watch it in the arena with the fans. But yeah, I do what I can. I'm not trying to get beat up in there. So
yeah, don't stress her out, man. Don't stress her out this fight.
Don't stress her out. And Chase, just as a favor, just suggestion, of course, it's your call. But one of the things that is a pet peeve with me is when I see people bring their like less than 1 year old baby to a show with all that noise, which has a definitive effect. It could actually cause a child to go deaf, you know? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm just putting that out there.
No, definitely.
Like, and even with the earmuffs on, I just can't understand it, you know?
Especially when a stud like Chase Hooper enters the arena.
Yeah. So, I mean, give him a little bit of time.
Even just watching as a fan, definitely like your ears are a little deafened after. So I could imagine for a baby just going the eardrum. So
yeah, I've been doing this for over 28 years, Chase, amongst all the other when I've appeared and opened up for rock concerts, rap concerts, whatever. I've actually lost a little bit of my hearing, from being around.
Yeah, I think we all do. Especially now we live in a time where everyone wears headphones, right, or earbuds, and you don't realize how low the volume is. That can still have a damaging effect on your long-term hearing. I'm definitely a little more deaf in my right ear than I am my left for whatever reason. Buff, you're a master of your voice. We go to these events all the time. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to do something like a night or two before in a loud crowd where you're just as a spectator. I refrain from going to like a basketball game or especially a concert or even like an MMA fight before I'm going to work because I find myself just in casual conversation having to yell over the crowd to the people that I'm with that you get back to your hotel room at the end of the night and it's like, oh crap, I've lost some of the bravado and bass to my voice because I've been screaming all night just trying to talk to people.
In answer to your question, I just control my voice. I don't go unless I'm performing or doing something before the show. I have an appearance that's unavoidable, but it's like a tool. After all these years, it's like a muscle. It's like anything else you've developed. It can handle all that. I just don't abuse it. Yeah, that's the main thing. Just don't abuse it. And it's not like I'm ready for a hearing aid or anything. I didn't mean to sound like that, but I've definitely lost a little bit. Plus, all the cold water surfing I've done, I have surfers. My canal in my right ear has narrowed because the coldness made the bone grow.
You got swimmer's ear or whatever.
Yeah, it's just it's just one of those things. But I can hear you now, so it's all good.
Yeah.
What?
All good, all good. All right, so Chase, today it's Thursday, cutting weight. Do you train at all when you're cutting weight? Do you move around or what?
We trained yesterday and the day before. We trained pretty much up until the day of the weight cut. Just because I sauna a little bit last night, and there's no reason to, push myself even more when I'm already depleted. Like this last training session is not gonna. If I were to train today, that's not what's gonna win me the fight. It's honestly probably gonna do more harm than good. Just trying to push your body when you're not, in a position to do that. So the weight cut is getting the weight off as lazy as we can. I prefer honestly just laying in the sauna. I've done it in the past where I've worked out on Thursday and I just felt like it made me sore honestly on the day of the fight, which is not something you really want, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously you're cutting weight still as a 55er, but at 45, you were cutting weight and you obviously had to be smaller or lighter, if you will. But is the weight cut any different? Does it feel any different cutting to 55 than 45?
The water cut is honestly pretty similar, and that's kind of by design. Like I was probably cutting from around 65 to start to make 145, like from fight week. Where, here I showed up to fight week at around 175. It's pretty typical. But I think percentage wise, it's a little bit less. But I always get, terrible, like cotton mouth. I'm kind of getting on the verge of it now. And then you can start to see like my eyes will start, looking bigger. It'll get sunken in. My cheeks are going to start poking out a little more. But, I try to, I don't know. I try to have as good of a time as I can. That's really like that's the big thing for me is I would rather be joking around as long as I could and having fun before the fight, before the weight cut, all these stressful times. So that's really what I try to focus on.
Hey, you got to whistle while you work, Chase. You got to enjoy
Yeah,
yourself.
definitely.
And the good thing about all this is that you're on a card. It's a fight night card, but it's it's an excellent card. There's a lot of good fights on this. It's on ESPN, so you'll have a lot more eyeballs on you than typically on a Fight Pass, show.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I know there's a lot of basketball playoffs and everything going on.
Hmm.
And then we get into the main event. Just to get your opinion on something, we got Rodrigo Nascimento fighting Derek Lewis. And here's Derek Lewis being the striker that he is, the brawler that he is. And he's going up against a grappler, a jiu-jitsu guy. Now, the
Yeah.
last time Derek did that, I think it ended pretty quickly for Derek. So, how do you guys see this fight going out?
Honestly, I think he had the Almeida fight recently too, where essentially he kept just getting taken down and
Right.
getting held. And Derek will say it himself, like he's not a 5 round guy.
Yeah.
I saw him tell Joaquin, he's like, hey, if you want that main event spot, you can have it. Like I don't want to go 5 round. And against a guy like Nascimento, who has a couple recent decision wins, so he's got more of the grinder in him. I hope it's an exciting fight, but definitely could be tough for Derek if he gets held down that whole time.
Yeah,
Well,
for
he's a
me,
fan
guys.
favorite. People are going to love to see him walk in the octagon. They always do. You're
Oh, for
becoming
sure.
a
He's got
fan
a job as
favorite.
long as he wants to keep stepping in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like, obviously I try not to, cheer or have any vested interest in anybody who wins. But whenever Derek Lewis fights, I am pro whatever needs to happen for this guy to get a post-fight interview.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I don't
Yeah.
care if he wins. I don't care if he loses. I just want that man on a microphone.
I got to be there for his I believe the Salt Lake City card where he got that flying knee KO. Like that
Oh,
was
yeah.
the crowd was just insane. They love him, and everybody loves him on the mic afterwards too.
Was that my balls are hot night?
No, that was a different one. This was his flying knee knockout. His last was it his last fight?
He said the right thing. It got him a Manscaped commercial, so it's all good. It's
Yeah,
all good.
fair enough.
Hey, listen, a couple other things while we have you here, Chase, just for a few more minutes. I want to, if you don't mind, I
Yeah.
know you got to get back to what you're doing. UFC 301 in Rio. I had a hellacious time getting down there, TJ. A lot of people did. My flight was canceled when I got to the LAX.
Oh no.
My next flight was canceled. They had to reroute me through Chile. Instead of 2 flights, I had to take 3 flights. I didn't get to the hotel till about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night on Friday, and then the show was on Saturday.
I mean,
Coming back,
time
we got
to
laid out. Or 55 of us on the plane. Half the people missed all their connector flights as a result of us flying late. So that started off that way.
call Dana and get that private jet, Buff. Come on,
I know.
now.
I've done that with Dana one time down to Brazil when I had to do 2 shows in 24 hours.
I remember
was
that.
quite an
Jersey to
experience.
Brazil, right?
Yeah, it was Belo Horizonte. Yeah.
Yeah.
From Jersey to Belo Horizonte. So that was a fun one. I'll take that private jet anytime he wants to throw it out there. We didn't sell out. We had a good crowd, but there was Madonna had a free concert down there that drew 1.7 million people to the beach.
A free concert?
Free concert. She made 3.5 million reportedly on the concert, another 13 plus million in a commercial. Not bad for in your 60s, still out there cranking it and doing her thing.
I mean, how do you make money on a free concert? That's interesting.
Because of all the people that came into Rio, it brought in so much revenue to the
right.
city.
They paid her to do the concert,
They
but
paid
everyone
her
else.
to do
Yeah.
the
Got
concert,
it.
basically.
Got it.
So that was number one. That was interesting that night. The other thing was, for the second time in my life, I want to address it. I announced the wrong winner, if we all remember that.
I didn't even notice it until I saw a clip of it online, which is actually great, Buff, because that means you rolled with it so well that I didn't even notice.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm only human, and at the same time, I take full 100% blame. But what happened was, if I can just give you a second, I was writing on my cards preparing for the next fight, and when they went to the ground where I was sitting, I couldn't see the submission. It ended, and I got in the octagon, and Osiris Maia, the Brazilian fine referee, I said, what was the choke? He told me who won. I could have sworn he said Pedrino. I'm not blaming it on him. It's my fault, totally my fault, something you should be totally aware of. But the cool thing is that as soon as I said it, Anthony turned around. I realized what happened right there. I changed it up. And Anthony turns around, he goes, "I love you, Bruce." And I go, "Love you too, Anthony." And everybody got a big laugh out of it. So, hey, guys, it's the second time that's happened in 28 years. What can I say? I can count my mistakes on less than two hands. So.
In the other time, too, I think it was another similar situation where it was a guillotine
two
choke.
Each with red beards.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, I don't know. I thought for Anthony Smith, you did him a solid because you said, and still undefeated. And I was like, great. Anthony Smith just got rid of all his losses. He's undefeated.
Kudos to Anthony. I appreciate it in his post-fight press conference. You know, he's very nice about it. But last thing I ever want to do, I'm there to serve you, Chase. Fight's not about me by any standards. It's about you. I'm there to serve you, so I always want to make sure I give 100%.
I don't want to butter your bread too much, Bruce, but everybody makes mistakes, especially at work. Unfortunately or fortunately, you have a job that if you make a mistake, the whole world is watching and everyone notices. Right. And so far, we're up to 2. So good job.
All good. All good. All good. Chase, going to let you go. Not for a big breakfast, but going to let you go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I'll try for sure.
And remember one thing in St. Louis, there's great Italian restaurants there afterwards. You guys should pick a really nice
Italian? I thought it was a rib city.
What was that?
I thought it was a rib city over there in St. Louis.
It's probably, I'm sure it's both. I mean, it's Budweiser territory, but I know for a fact there's fine, really great Italian restaurants there.
That's I could definitely go for some Italian, especially right now.
I mean,
put it on the list.
Chase, call our boy Walker up at Fight Pass. He's from St. Louis. He'll tell you everything you need to know.
Fair enough. All right. Great talking with you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chase.
I'll see you in the octagon, my friend. Time to roar your name to the world, and I look forward to it very much.
Sounds good. Safe travels.
Hi, everybody. I've had an absolute blast recording your championship intros on audio and also on video. And for those of you that didn't know, the videos can be done special exactly the way you like them, because these are green screens, and we can do them with a scene behind me. Do you want a fighting scene? Do you want a beach scene? Do you want a race car scene? Any scene you want, we can give it to you. It's your theme and my pleasure. Just write our offices and we will answer you with the exact fee involved and how it'll get done. So here we are, and now it's time, and it's your choice. Cheers! All right, very cool. It was nice having Chase on. Nice young man. Fighter, husband, kid on the way. World's his oyster, man.
Yeah.
That's not a perfect example of what is the beginning of what the future could hold. I mean, everything's falling in line. The stars are in line for him. I like it very much.
100%. The thing I love about Chase, and we see this a lot, Bruce, is you have, some of the most badass fighters in the world not fit the stereotypical personality of what you think someone that would be locked in an octagon to fight for. And, that's Chase. He's just, he's truly like a martial artist. And, he just happens to be a pro fighter for a living.
Exactly. So, speaking of a living, Tom Brady made a living for many, many years in the NFL, and he got roasted this weekend. Did you watch it?
I did, and I was just thinking, Buff, I don't know what we have to do, but you need to be the guy that opens up these huge roasts.
Yeah, I'm going to I know Jeff Ross and Tony Hinchcliffe and stuff, and I would have loved to have been there because, quite frankly, it's right up the street from where I live.
Yeah.
Right, but I was in Rio.
No, I mean, this one probably wouldn't have worked out, but who better to kick off a roast than Bruce Buffer?
I would love to. One of my favorite things to watch are those celebrity roasts. They crack me up.
What'd you think of this one? Did they go too far at times? Because, I mean, they pulled absolutely no punches.
Here's my critique. I thought it was excellent. I was very surprised at a couple things. I was taken off color by a couple things. To watch Tom Brady drop 30 F-bombs during his speech and to be talking about himself in a cocky way, which I know he was joking about, was a little off color.
It was out of character for him a little bit.
It was out of character.
Yeah.
But it was good. Brady is the GOAT. Tony Hinchcliffe was amazing.
Yeah, he killed it.
He killed it. Nikki Glazer, she killed it. She's always good.
She was the best. She was the funniest.
She was the best. And then third in line, what's his name? Oh, shoot. I'll get in a second. But getting back to this, the worst part of the show was Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on there.
About?
There were people asking if he was on medication or if he
drunk or
right.
whatever. I mean, I don't mean to be disparaging about Ben Affleck. We know he has an alcoholic issue, but that was not a roast.
Right. And here's my thing, Bruce. I feel like maybe we give Ben Affleck too much credit. No offense. He's a great actor, but maybe we give him too much credit for what his range is. You know,
he's actually very funny in person. TJ.
Right. But he's not, the personality of someone who would be a roaster. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, he proved that. He got ripped all across the internet. And then did you see the way he ended it?
Yeah.
That video of him doing that motion is going to be around for the rest of his life. What
I know.
the heck? I don't get
I know.
it.
You know, we live in a time now where you can't afford to do stupid stuff because anything can become a meme or a GIF, and it will follow you forever.
That's going to be a meme for some people, I'm sure. I don't even want to describe it, but you can imagine what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Tony Hinchcliffe is here. Listen, Tony Hinchcliffe, and he and I spoke. He called me yesterday because he wants me to open up for his concert.
We need to get him back on the show, by the way. We haven't talked to him since the middle of COVID. He's awesome.
He's appearing here in L.A. He's selling out the Forum Friday night, exactly where the roast was. And then he has the YouTube Center in Inglewood, which I'm going to try to get back in time for St. Louis and go open up his show for him on Sunday night, which will be a lot of fun. And speaking of Sunday, by the way, TJ, happy Mother's Day to your wife. Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful moms out there.
You've
happy
just reminded me it's Mother's Day, and I need to go buy something. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you better go buy something. And happy Mother's Day. I have to repeat it to my beautiful little mama who's, hi, Mom. She's looking down right now. It's all good.
The first one, Buff. It's a
special day for your mom. Take care of your moms, man. You only have one. And I hope you have a wonderful relationship with your mothers.
And you know this better than anybody, having lost a father before, losing your mother. That day, it never gets easier. It never gets easier.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll be in a lot of theory of thought on that day.
You gonna do anything to honor your mom? So, like for me, on my dad's birthday, I hate angel food cake. Hate it. I think it's the most disgusting dessert ever. My dad loved it, though. So every year on his birthday, I choke down a piece of angel food cake because if my dad were still here, I'd probably have to do it anyway. So,
well, I'll honor my mom with my love. And, I have my own little private things that I do. But to answer your question, of course, I'll definitely be honoring my mom on that special day. There's no question.
It's amazing.
I cannot. God, I love my mom. Love my mom.
She was great. She was an amazing person, and one that actually listened to this podcast in an insane amount.
Incessantly. Watched every fight incessantly. Called her before and after every fight. No, she's my biggest fan, but she actually loved everything about it. She enjoyed you, the podcast, everything. So anyway, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. A couple things in the news here. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter is pleading guilty to the federal charges. He faces up to 33 years in prison.
He's not going to go to jail for 33 years. I bet you he doesn't go to jail at all, Buff. He's going to get hit with some crazy probation and all sorts of stuff, but we'll find out.
Probably. We'll see. The Boy Scouts of America are changing their name.
Yeah, they're trying to go through a whole rebranding thing because, obviously, without getting too into it, they've had a pretty bad public perception over the last few years since some things have come out. And, not surprising that they're trying to rebrand everything.
Well, I know that, some of the stuff has always been said about the Scouts. What else other than abuse or anything like that?
I mean, yeah, it's abuse. It's a lot of allegations about sexual abuse, with kids and stuff.
Well, I'm very proud of my godson and my nephew, Rupert, my godson Henry. Henry became an Eagle Scout, went through. It actually helped him in his applications for college. And
that's the thing, Bruce. I'm not disparaging the program at all. If one bad apple spoils the bunch, right? Unfortunately, there were a lot of bad apples here. But the things that can be taken away from kids that go through the Scouts and you go all the way up to Eagle Scout, like you said, Bruce. It is something to be proud of and can actually really help you advance your life at a young age.
Yeah, no question. I've seen definite positive results in both boys from their years of being in the Scouts.
Yeah.
So
hopefully, they put this in the past, and a rebranding can help them. Because that's the thing. Again, a couple bad apples spoiled the bunch. I would hate to think that boys throughout this country are missing out on something because of something that happened, in the past. If all the steps are taken to remedy these situations and make sure that they never happen again, the core sort of purpose of this program, again, makes young men better for having gone through it.
I agree. Most definitely. That ring that they gave Tom Brady, that Kevin Hart gave Tom Brady at the roast?
Yeah.
Pretty cool ring. $40,000 that ring is worth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. And do you see his watch?
I did.
That's like $1 million watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guy can afford it.
It's like one of a kind, Tom Brady special. So it's all gravy, baby. And number of celebrities. That place was sold out. It's like
So many people were there.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised to not see Sean Shelby sitting with Dana.
It was funny when Tony Hinchcliffe? I forget the comedian that said, Dana, what do you hear with the cast of Queer Guy or whatever?
Oh, who was that? I don't remember.
I do. It's where I'm brain farting. But anyway, it's just like everybody got a big laugh out of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess because Sean Brady was so flamboyantly dressed as always.
I didn't realize how big of a comic Andrew Schultz is at this point.
Actually, it was Andrew Schultz.
Was it him? Okay, yeah.
It was Andrew Schultz.
We've had him on the show.
Andrew Schultz was one of the better ones, too.
Right. He's hilarious. We've had him on the show in the past, too. Yeah. I didn't we probably talked to him maybe 2 years ago. And,
well, we did
he was
2 years
already
ago when I did his years before that, or I forget exactly, but I opened up for him.
Yeah. This is
his Netflix special
right around the same time.
In Austin, Texas, which is one of the best for me. I look back in that. This is one of the best opening things I've ever done.
Yeah, and I love comedy, Bruce, but like I said, I don't really pay attention to it as much as I would like to. I didn't realize how big his career has blown up.
Huge.
Yeah.
Now watch Tony Hinchcliffe. Huge.
Yeah.
He's doing this sold out forum show. It's being taped. He's spending literally, I don't want to give private information, but it's like well over $500,000 just to put the show together that he's covering the costs on.
Crazy.
Right?
Buff, I really hope that there's a future where you can bring back the It's Time comedy night. I know you only did like one.
My plate is so full.
I hear you.
I think about it
but
all
I
the
know
time.
How much you love comedy. You're such a connoisseur of it. It'd be great if you were able to try to get, even if it's just a one night only thing, try to do that again.
I could do it. It's on the bucket list. Not the bucket list, rather. I've already done it. It's on the list. I will be doing another comedy show this year, definitely by next year.
Nice.
I can put together a whole list of great comedians to do that. All right, TJ, and I appreciate your saying that. Get ready. I think I told you last week, but we're coming out with a couple new colognes. I'll be announcing soon.
You told me. I'm excited.
And Mother's Day, I've been doing a lot of Mother's Day cameo videos and videos being ordered at brucebuffer.com for Mother's Day.
Speaking of Mother's Day, do you think it would be out of line for me to buy myself a bottle of It's Time cologne and say it's a gift to my wife because it'll make me smell better?
No. What's wrong with that?
Okay, can't be the only gift. But
no, not the only. Yeah, I was going to say that. Don't make it the only gift, but if you order today, it'll be there in time.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just go right on Amazon. We just set a record sales month on Amazon last month.
That's huge. Good for you.
Yeah, well, now we're going into the stores, so that's going to be really
When am I getting my It's Time energy drink?
There's been COVID delays and delays on the can design because they changed the interior makeup of the can. We had to go back and spend a ton of money to redo the can because of laws.
Yeah.
To answer your question, 5 weeks.
Sweet. Awesome. My buddy actually just sent me a photo where he picked up, I don't know what it's called, but apparently Michael has one.
Yeah, we have a Let's Get Ready to Rumble energy drink out there.
Yeah.
The It's Time energy drink is a very healthy drink. Let's Get Ready to Rumble drink is along the lines of, like
a little more sugary.
Sugary and caffeine, and truck drivers it makes the truck drivers happy.
All right. Well, I desperately want to try It's Time energy at the first available opportunity.
No desperation needed. When it comes out, you'll have it.
Thank you, sir.
We'll get it done. absolutely get it done.
I feel like this has been the project you've been working on the most over the years. Like I feel like
there's just been the delays because of COVID and whatever. But I'm excited. We've already got placement in stores around the country, and
nice.
I'm very excited about it. We'll see everything as everything develops. All right, TJ, let's sign off.
All right, let's sign off. Yeah, follow Chase Hooper, who we just talked to, and his fight coming up this Saturday in St. Louis. I am actually sort of off this weekend, which is nice, but I'll be in Las Vegas next week. I got 2 shows coming up, Buff. I'm calling the Fight Pass Invitational, which is going to be a huge submission grappling event live on UFC Fight Pass next Wednesday. Hopefully you and I will have a chance to talk before that. I think Hinato Moicano is going to actually try to get on the line with us and talk about his match. He's on that card. And then Uriah Faber's got a show going down in Sacramento, which should also be on the UFC Fight Pass YouTube page. So that one is actually free. You don't have to be a Fight Pass subscriber to check that out. But you should be a Fight Pass subscriber because
you should.
It's the biggest no-brainer in combat sports. And you definitely want to make sure you see that UFC Fight Pass Invitational number 7 card. 2 of the best grapplers in the world in the main event, Nick Rodriguez taking on Mason Fowler. Gordon Ryan is sort of taking a step back from competition, and a lot of people are talking about how this match between Nicky Rod and Mason is kind of for that crown that Gordon sort of hangs up for his time away from the sport. So for my money, it's a world championship jiu-jitsu match, and it's live and available exclusively on UFC Fight Pass.
Well, I wish Gordon good health, and I want to see him get back strong again and do the whole bit. He's quite the character.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday. We're going to try to get him back on the show real soon and catch up with him because, I mean, the kid is an icon at this point.
Yeah, let's get an update on him and what everything's going on. All right, everybody. Back from Rio, off to St. Louis, next week Las Vegas. I'll see you all from the Octagon in St. Louis for Fight Night. By the way, it's on ESPN. You can all watch it for free all day long, so enjoy it. Outside of that, have a great week, everybody. Set your goals, write them down. So when you step on that yellow brick road to your future of success, you perform the best you can be. Because if you're performing at your best, whether you're first, second, champion, number 10, number 1, whatever, you're winning. That's what we're all about on It's Time Radio. So have a great week. Big cheers, no fears forever. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Buffer out.